Zug the Heilige Mishnah. Just last Mishnah, last Daf and Shevuos. Baruch Shechiyonu v'kimonu 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 Gavaldig. I'm so proud of us. I think this might be the shortest parak in Shas. Do one parak, less than a daf. Our boss Shomer man, this is known. Shemechinim Sholem Leisachal HaSoicher. Shemechinim Nishbal HaKoil. Shemechinim doesn't charge anything, so he's not responsible for much except for a shvuah, for a pshia. And if he claims that it was stolen or lost or an oinus happened, he just has to make a shvuah and he's part of Shoel Meshalem Zakal. Shoel gets full usage, doesn't even pay. Right? I lent it to you, so you have to pay on Gnei Daved and Oinsin and everything. It depends. If it's an oinus, they're potter. If it's Gnei Daved, that's more of a pshia, so therefore he's chayiv. What happens if the Baal Hashar says, "Where's my show? I gave it to you to watch. You did me a favor." So he says it died. Now, if it dies, he's potter, right? Now he lied. Right? Really, something else happened to it, right? Either Gnei Aveda or Nishba, which means either it was attacked by an animal, it got broken, a foot broke, or it was captured. Then, or Nishbar. Right? Or he claims it was Nishbar, and really what happened to it was something else. Or Nishba, or Nignav, he said Nignav, or Avad, he says, I swear to me that your claim, whatever you said happened, is true. But he said, Amen? Pater. He's Patur. Why is he Pater? We'll see the Mishnah soon, because his lie, Hagami, he's a liar, right? And we'll talk about if he's chayiv on a Shevuos Sheker, Shevuos Bitoy. But on a Shevuos HaPikadon, the halacha of Shevuos HaPikadon is you're only chayiv on a chomish and the osham. If you swear Shevuos HaPikadon falsely, is if the Shevuah would have pattered you from paying. It's a kfiras moment. But since the Shomer Chino is anyways potter in all these claims, even if he would have told the truth, he would have been potter. So his lie didn't save him any money. Right? It didn't cause him a financial loss with his lie. So Mamela, he's not chayiv, he's potter from chomish and osham, even from the Karen. Right? He's potter b'chlal, he's potter altogether. Finished. Shevuos Sheker, yeah, he's a liar. Okay, he might be possible Eidos. Heichen Shoiri, says the Gemara, says the Mishnah. Oh, but what about a case where the Balbai says to the Shomer Chinam, where's my shar? I have no idea what you're talking about. You never gave it to me. He swore about it. Potter is also Potter. You know why? Because even had he told the truth, he would have been Potter. So again, there's no kfiras moment. Heichen Shoiri, what happens if the Balbai asks the Shomer Chinam, where's my shar? Avad. I lost it. Mashbi'achani, swear to me that you lost it. And he says, Amen, right? It's a shvuah. And Edom testify, it wasn't lost. He ate it. Mishalem is a Karen. There, his shvuah, to pater himself, when he made a shvuah on Avad, that saved him money, right? Because otherwise, had he told the truth, he would have to pay. So the shvuah is a shvuah in a kfiras moment. That's why it's chayiv. Mishalem is a Karen. He pays the Karen. Why doesn't he pay the chomish and osham over here? And Teretz says chomish and osham by Shevuos HaPikadon is only if you're moida. Hoida ma'atzmai, mishalem Karen chomish v'osham. But if Edom come and tell and they prove you to be a liar, then you don't pay chomish v'osham. That's the halacha. So hoida ma'atzmai mishalem Karen chomish v'osham. Heichen shoyri. What happens if he asks you, where's my shor? V'amle nignam mashbiachne v'amein v'aidem eidem l'shugan. Ooh, there mishalem tashlu kev is not. He doesn't just pay the Karen. He pays kefil. He's a toin tainus ganav, right? This is the case by Shomer Chino. The halacha is that if you taina it was nignav, it was stolen, and you tried to pater yourself with that taina, and really you're the one who's keeping it, you're the one who's stealing it, right? So then, if Edom prove you to be a liar and they say we saw it by you, then avadi you pay kefil because turn taina is gone. What if he's moed on his own? Then he doesn't pay kefil. Because that's a moed b'knas. Moed b'knas is potter. Then Mishalem Keren v'chomish v'osham. Then he pays like a regular Shevuos HaPikadon. A guy who was kofer mom in a Shevuos HaPikadon, he pays Keren v'chomish v'osham. He has to pay back the Keren, right? Because right, he's a ganav. He has it. He's the one who really has it. And plus chomish and osham because he made a Shevuos HaPikadon. Omer le'echad b'shuk. Heichen shoyri sheganavto. Guy who just approaches anybody in the shuk. It's not even a shomer over here. Who Aimer Loganafti? He says, I never stole from you. I don't know who you are. I never met you. But Edom either way Shaganva, and Edom say, no, he did steal. Mashal Tashlum Kefil. Then he has to be Kefil. Tavacham Ochar. Mashal Tashlum Arba v'chamisha. He has to pay Arba v'chamisha, like the din of Dal v'hei. But Roa Edom Shemash B'Shnabayin. What if he sees Edom, They're mamash down the block. They're coming to Bezdin, and he knows that they're going to testify. They saw him do the gneva. Omar, so he quickly says, ganafti. He says, I stole. He's only like a moed of mixas shtickle, right? He says, I stole it, but I didn't shecht and I didn't sell it. Eina mishalem el keren. In such a case, he only pays keren. He doesn't even pay the gimel v'dalad, right? Kefil is potter because he was moed on the kefil, but let him pay the gimel v'dalad, the additional on the tvicha and mechira. He doesn't pay that either because the Torah says, Arba v'chamisha amr Torah, not gimel v'dalad. That's the drush we had earlier. Says the Gemara. Omar l'shoyel. Now we go to a shoyel's case. Heichen shoyri. Omar loy meis. He says it died. Now, really, what happened was v'ushe nishbar ay nishba ay nigna ve'ovad. Really, what happened was something else. Nishbar. He claims nishbar v'ushe meis nishba nigna ve'ovad. Nishba v'ushe meis nishba nigna ve'ovad. Nigna v'ushe meis nishba nigna ve'ovad. Ovad v'ushe meis nishba nigna ve'ovad. Right, same thing. In other words, he's not trying to pater himself with his lie. Right? Something else happened. It was either a gneva, vedi, and it was would have been chayiv had he told the truth, and he's chayiv now that he's lying. So there's no difference. So therefore, if he swears on it, pater is pater, because no kfiras moment. Heichen shoyri. But what happens if the balabais asks the shoyl, "Where's my shoyl that I lent you?" I've never met you. Busha meis, and really what happened was he did borrow it, and it died. Because his kind of any day matasach would have pattered him. That's a kfiras moment. Shvuos apikadmin kfiras moment. What about a noisach and a seicher? Amalei meis. V'usha nishbar v'usha meis v'usha meis. Oy nishbar nignav v'usha avad v'usha nignav mashbiachnev amin potter. He's potter because the lie and the truth had the same halacha. They were the same din, right? Either he lied about an oinus, one type of oinus, another type of oinus happened, so he would have been potter anyway. Or he lied about a gneva, and really was an aveda, or vice versa, and he was a chayiv. So Mameli is potter from Shvuos HaPikadon. What happens? Meis, oin nishba, v'ushenigna v'yovad. What happens if he claims it was an oinus? But really, gneva aveda happened. Mashbiach he made a shvuah chayiv, because he's chayiv gneva aveda, then he denied, he lied about that. Tried to patter himself with the tiniest oinsin. Oh. The Gemara says like this: what happens if he lied? This is interesting. Last case is, what if he lied to be mechayev himself? But really, had he told the truth, he would have been potter. Truth was it was an oinus. He lied that it was a gneva aveda. He's potter. Avadi's potter, right? Koshkin, kavachomer. I want to give you more money than you deserve. So I didn't do anything wrong. He still lied. Shvuah sheker. But as far as Shvuos Pikadon is concerned, Gemara says, Zeh klal. The klal on the whole Mishnah, we went through all these cases, sum it up in one line, Kala Meshana Mechayiv L'Chayiv Meptur L'Ptur Meptur L'Chayiv Pater. And it was Meshana Mechayiv L'Chayiv. In other words, the same halacha would have been true for the lie and the MS, then you're Pater. Pater L'Ptur also. Meptur L'Chayiv, right? If you Meshana Meptur and you want to be Mechayiv yourself, it's also Pater. The only time you Chayiv is Mechayiv L'Ptur. If you're really Mechayiv Al PMS, and you try to pat yourself with a false claim, then you're chayiv. On Shvuos Pikadon, Zeh klal, kol hanishba l'hakol atzmei chayiv. You try to be makel on yourself, right? You try to pat yourself, then you're chayiv. L'hachmer l'atzmei, but if you use the Shvuos Pikadon to be chayiv yourself, to be machmer yourself, and pay in a place where you didn't have to pay, then he's pater. Says the Gemara, Man Tana Bar Shomrim. Who's the man Omar? Who's the Tana that learns this mission of our Bar Shomrim? Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Rabbi Meiri. It's Rabbi Meir. What? Rabbi Meir. It's not Mishnah Rabbi Meir. What's the kash over here? Who's the Tana that learns about Shem? It's Psukim and Parshas Mishpatim. Yeah, Dalit Shemim is it's Chumash Rashi. Yeah, so what do you mean who's the Tana? I see in this Mishnah a very unique halucha. It says, Man Tana Dom is Soicher Kanes Sacher Dami. The guy who's a renter, guy who rents, is like a guy who's watching for schar, who gets paid to watch. They have the same halacha. So I want to know who's that Tana that equates, right? And Soicher to Nes Sacher. Amar Rabbi Rabbi Meiri. That's Rabbi Meir. I asked him, Rabbi Meir Ibcha Shamin Alei. Rabbi Meir doesn't say this. Rabbi Meir says the opposite. The Tanan Soicher Ketzim Mishalim. What about Soicher? How does he pay? What's his halacha? Meir Oimer Kishay Mechina. Rabbi Oimer Kishay Mechina. So you see, Rabbi Meir doesn't say. It can't be our Mishnah because Rabbi Meir is the one who says Soicher is Kishay Mechina, and our Mishnah says Soicher is Knesset Socher. It's Chayav Gnei Vaveda. The Gemara says no problem. Rabbi Barabu Ibchatani. He had it switched up. In other words, Rabbi Meir is the one who says Soicher Knesset Socher. Mar says, Hani Arba Hava Shloisha Hava. How can you say it's Arba Shaimrim? Right? How can you call it Arba Shaimrim? It's not Arba, it's Shloisha, because it's only 3 halachas, right? Either you're Chayiv in Oitzin, or you're Chayiv in Nevaveda, or you're only Chayiv in Pshiyah. So, why is there Arba Shaimrim? There are 4 categories of Shaimrim. There are only 4 categories of halachas with regard to Shaimrim. Says the Gemara, Arba Shaimrim, really, there are 4 types of Shaimrim. Even though they're the same halacha, but there's still 4 different types of Shaimrim. V'dinei and Shloisha, you're right, their halachas are 3. Omar l'shoyim echina meichen shoyri. Omar le'echad b'shuk. Omar l'shoyim echad shoyrim le'nei de'masach. Omar Rav, kulan p'turim Shevuos Shaimrim. They're all potter from Shevuos Shaimrim. Right, like we said earlier, Zak Klal, right? They didn't try to deny money. So they're potter from Shevuos Apikot, Shevuos Shaimrim. V'chayovim v'shem Shevuos Bitoy. But Avada, they're chayav Shevuos Bitoy. They lied. They lied. Well, yeah, it was really nignav, and you said never. That's a lie, nonetheless. So you're chayav v'shem Shevuos Bitoy, and presumably you bring your carbon oil of a yared, right? You bring your carbon oil of a yared if you did a b'shaygi at least, or maybe even b'mezid, right? Shevuos Bitoy is b'mezid. No, that's only Shevuos Eidus. Okay. Shmuel Omar af pturin mishim Shevuos Bitoy. No, they're potter even from Shevuos Bitoy. V'maykim meflagi. Shmuel saver lesa b'lahaba. For Rav saver isa b'lavehen. We had this machlokes earlier in the Masechta. Which Daf Raki? Remember, Rav says isa b'lavehen, and Shmuel says lesa b'lahaba. In other words, the pasuk the Torah says b'Shevuos Bitoy. V'nefesh kishava lavat v'sayim lahara oy lehetiv. Lahara lehetiv is future tense. So any Shevuos Bitoy, to be mechuyev in Shevuos Bitoy, you have to be able to make that Shavua in the future tense as well. Right? And the problem over here is that if you say it was stolen, right, and you lied, really it was lost, you can't be mechuyev Shevuos Bitoy on that because you can't swear that type of shul lahaba. What are you going to swear? It's going to be stolen. What do you know the future? Right? So Mela, they put their Shevuos Bitoy according to Shmuel. Rav says, no, you're chayiv on that. Right? Why? Because b'lavahen. You could swear it was stolen or it wasn't stolen. Lahar lehetiv was just saying lahar is negative, lehetiv is positive. So as long as you have that condition met, then you're chayiv Shevuos Bitoy.
Might be.
Okay. Yes, you're right. I see we're here in the Seres of Shas because we're about to bring the Gemara on Chafei. Gemara says, they already argued about this. The Itmer, Shevuos Shazork Plenit Tzroy Liyam. Shevuos Shaloi Zorak. Right? Either you make a Shevuah that a guy threw a pebble into the ocean or he didn't. Yeah, Rav Machayev Shmuel Potter. Rav Machayev Isa B'Lavahen Shmuel Potter Lesa B'Laba. So why do you have to give me another argument? Shevuos Hashomer, the same machlokes Rav and Shmuel. It's another variation of the same machlokes. Where's the tzricha? B'yeshman b'ha b'hakom Rav Shem Rav Sheikah b'Shtieble. Maybe only over here Rav said that you're chayev. Why? Because this shomer voluntarily, by Shevuos Shazark Planet Tzar. This guy voluntarily made a Shevuah on his own. So here we're machmer. We're saying, you're going to make a Shevuah like that on your own? Chayev. But Aval B'ach D'Vei Dina B'Shtieble Ein Moedel L'Shmuel Kedirabami. Dam Rabami calls Shevuah Shad Diyana Mashbino Yisei Chayav Hashem Shevuos Bitoy. Maybe it's Moed Shmuel your potter because like Rabami's halacha. Rabami says any Shevuah that Diyana Mashbino Yisei Ein Chayav Hashem Shevuos Bitoy. Okay. V'itmar Baha, and if it would have been a machlokes only over here, Ba'akam Shmuel. Maybe only over here did Shmuel say your potter. Al Ba'ach Ein Moed L'Rav. Over here it's not by Shevuah Shazor Tzor Liyam. Maybe it's not. It's voluntary. It's voluntary. So maybe the Rav is Moed that you're chayiv. Yeah, the other way. If it says Baha, and our Mishnah B'Hakam Shmuel is potter because Bezna is Mashbiyam. Yeah, but Bahach, but Nishbaz Shazark Planet Tzreliyam, Eima Moida L'Rav. Maybe he's Moida because he made it on his own. So he's Moida that he's Chayev Tzricha. So therefore, you have the Machlokes in both places. Gufa Omer Rabbi Ami. We just had this called Shevuah Shahadayonin Mashbiyan Oisa, and you made a Shevuah Sheker. Ein Ba Mishnah Shevuah Bitosh. Never Oy Nefesh Ki Sishava Levata B'Sasayim. So what does Ki Sishava mean? Levata B'Sasayim Me'atzmoi. He has to make it on his own. Right? If, maybe, rather, or because. So it says over here, im. Like it says ki, it says im. In other words, it's voluntary. You made it on your own, nobody imposed it on you. So that's the only time you're chayiv in a Shevuos Bitoy. It reminds me of a good Mazel. Quick story, and then we'll end with this, with the Masechta, Gevalt. There's a Maisa that somebody once came to the Kutzker, And he says, my son just finished Parshas Bereishis. I once heard from Rabbi Gold, a beautiful story. I finished Parshas Bereishis, and he's ready to be tested on it. He's very proud of his son. So the Kotzker said, okay, you know what? He turns to the end of the parsha in Bereishis. It has all the people who lived and died. And he says, could you read me this parsha, this pasuk? So the kid starts reading the pasuk. Yeah, Shelach lived 900 and 30 or 60 years, and he died. The Kotzker says, that's not what the pasuk. That's not. You're wrong. So the boy looked at the pasuk and he's like, yeah, Shelach lived so many years and then he died. It was exactly the exact translation. The Kotzker says, no, that's not how you read it. So the father got nervous, like, he's proud of it. He's proud of his son. He brings it to the Kotzker's fire. So he says, it's not how you read it. So then finally, the father says, listen, this is the way the Rebbe taught it. I mean, how else could you read this pasuk? He says, I'll tell you how to read this pasuk. And the Kotzker jumps out of his seat and he says, he lived! And then he slumps into his chair. He says, Vayamas, and he died. He says, you can't say Vayechi and Vayamas in the same tone of voice. Like a person is alive, you gotta live. You gotta be alive. You gotta be alive with a Machavar Mishlagidim. Sir Freifeld told over the story once at a Shavuos Brachos. Shlomo Freifeld, who was the founder of Shar Yashav, and he said, that's the pshat in the pasuk in Hallel. Loy amos ki echya. The Gemara says ki mishtamish b'da'od l'shaynis shlokish over here. So usually say loy amos ki echya, which means rather. Elo loy amos rather. I don't want to die. Rather, I want to live. So he says, no. It doesn't mean loy amos. It means ki. Ki means daha. Almost when? While I'm alive. I'm not going to die while I'm alive. I'm not just going to exist. I'm not just going to survive. I'm mamish live. The vayechi of the Kotzker. That's how a person has to live. How do you do that? By learning the Daf. Says the Gemara. And Rabbi Lazar Omer Kulan P'turim Shevuos Shaimrim. Yeah? All these in the Mishnah are potter from Shevuos HaShaimrim v'chayovim from Shevuos Bitoi. They are chayiv al Shevuos Bitoi Schoilik. And chutz me'eni dem atasach the shoylik neved nezeh zecher shu chayiv sheikafroi mammon. In other words, when he's chayiv in Shevuos Pikoden, then he's potter. But if he's not, if he's potter, then he's chayiv in Shevuos Bitoi. Okay, had noch abas shoymrim meslik lam sagt shvuos had noch abas shoymrim meslik lam sagt shvuos had noch abas shoymrim meslik lam sagt shvuos shkoyach for joining us on this journey in Emir Hashem. Looking forward for Avodah Zarah.